I'm so glad you decided to join us tonight. I want to tell you a very special story that comes from a very special place in my heart. It started many, many years ago when I was only 4. And then I turned 5. I wasn't quite 6 yet. Don't worry, the story gets better. I wanted very badly for Christmas to get a very special present. I wanted a cockatoo. Just because I like saying it. I want a cockatoo. I knew you'd laugh at that. So I went to my mom and I said, Mom, can you get me a cockatoo? And she stopped slapping me. I explained that it was a large white bird with a crest. Like this. And I said, Mom, I want a cockatoo more than anything I could ever think of. Could you get it for me for Christmas? Well, my mom was tone deaf, so she didn't notice that. But she said, sure, son, whatever you want. If you want a cockatoo, I'll get you a cockatoo. Well, December passed, and the snow started coming down. One day, I walked out into the backyard, and I saw that Mom was just pulling up. And she had a box in the back of the car, and it had something covered and hidden. And I ran up to the back door, and I said, Mom!
I've never seen snow before! Because I'm from Florida, but now we live in Cleveland. Oh, hey, what's in that box? I thought, I hope it's not a cockatoo, because that box is taped up pretty tight. And it's got postage on it. It wasn't a cockatoo, actually. She never let me see what it was. She just disappeared with it. So next Christmas I decided again, when I was 6, that I would ask for another pet. And I said, Mom, I think you owe me for the cockatoo, so please, could you find it in your hearts to get me what I really want this year? A 23-foot python? My mom felt pretty bad about the cockatoo thing. She agreed that she would try to get me a 23-foot python. And she went all the way into the Amazon. She smuggled one back in her garter belt. She was a big woman. And when she pulled out that python, 23 feet, just unrolling like Christmas ribbon, I was so happy for the first time in my 6 years of life. And I named him Elroy. Elroy the python. And I fed him the neighbor's cat right away because he was hungry. And Elroy and I were good friends all the way up until I went to college. But then, things changed between Elroy and I.
I went away to college and I studied reptilian physiology. Can't believe I just said that. Believe me, I'm surprised myself. But I did. I studied reptilian physiology, and I learned that reptiles only eat once a month. So I often wondered, after feeding my neighbor's cat to Elroy when we first got him, what he had been eating all those years. I phoned Mom. And she answered, hello? She was a big woman. now living in Florida. After moving back to Cleveland briefly, because it was too cold for Elroy, being a reptile, which caused me to go into representing physiology, but we won't go into that now. Neither will I. I said, Mom, all those years, what were we feeding Elroy? I never saw us feed him anything. I mean, at least once a month. She was like, honey, you really... Actually, I can do her voice. Hold on. Honey, I don't really think you want to ask that question. Because she was a big woman. I said, Mom, look, really, seriously, I'm up here. This may actually help with my thesis, because what better person to know about reptilian physiology than someone that grew up with a 23, now 38-foot python? She said, well, no, son. Actually, I'm sorry. Well, son, I have to tell you, what we were feeding your python was...
The little sister you never knew you had. I wasn't always a big woman. I used to be able to talk in a normal tone of voice. And when I had my little son, I knew that this was going to be the biggest adventure of my life. Oh, he was a dreamer, and he always loved animals. And as a single mom, I did whatever I could to make sure that he had whatever pet he wanted. So it wasn't that I didn't want to get him that cockatoo, it's just I had seen what had happened before. Like when he was 3 and wanted a hamster, and then tied the hamster to a Hot Wheel and sent it through the course. Well, we all know what happened to Fluffy, but I certainly couldn't tell him that. And I certainly couldn't afford to buy another pet and put food on the table. So we had sloppy fluffies that night. Nobody ever knew but me. But it allowed me to save enough money for the next pet he wanted, the iguana. Well, that went the same way, of course, when he learned that you can't ride an iguana like a horse. Iguanaritos the next night. But that saved me enough money to get the puppy that he really, really, really wanted. That didn't go so well either. So when he wanted that cockatoo, it wasn't that I didn't want to get it for him. I actually did get it for him. I had it shipped all the way from Europe. How was I to know that UPS wasn't going to get it there in time because of the strike, because of the snow, because of the closeness to Christmas? And all of a sudden, all I've got in a box is the next night's dinner with a little bit of chicken helper. So I thought maybe, just maybe, if I got him this python, he'd be happy. And if it didn't work, there was a lot of meat in a 23. But even I underestimated how much a 23-foot python was going to eat. Even more than a growing 6-year-old boy, who then turned 7, and then 8, and then 9, and then 10. You get the picture. So what choice did I have but to whore myself out, to be able to keep having younger siblings / meals for that python? I'm not proud of it, and that's what drove me to eat and drink and then eat a lot more. I really liked cake. In fact, these cookies were fantastic. And that's what turned me into what I am today. All for the love of my son. But I hope he grew up knowing that.
But Mom loved me. She did. She used to say every night, I love you. Because after all, she was a very large woman.